Welcome to Musical Connections. This is NextIIConnect. Zach Snow here with you once again, and my guest today needs no introduction. He has played music for almost 40 years now. He was the musician at Greensleeves for many, many years, and with songs like No Second Chances, One of These Days, No Place Like Home, Floating on the Ocean, and a brand new one is going to be premiering at his show at the Majestic Theatre on May 31st. He is set to make a lot of noise in 2024, and he shows no signs of slowing down. Damian Follett is my guest on NextIIConnect this week. How you doing, brother?
Good, Zach. Thanks for having me, brother. Great to see you.
And great to see you as well. Congratulations on all your success. You got a brand new song that you're going to be playing at the Majestic Theatre May 31st, and it's called Covers and Me, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the covers is basically the influences. I'm going to be splitting up the show into sort of two sections of cover songs and original songs. And I'm doing the cover songs by myself and kind of telling the stories of when I was a kid and how I got into it from my brother's records and all those things and how I learned how to play all those classic songs. And they gave me a career, basically, is what they did. You know?
That's awesome, man. Now, on top of that, how are things with you right now, Damian?
Things are fantastic, yeah. My two boys are 19 and 17, doing fantastic, healthy. I'm very healthy at 62 years old. I'm still relevant in the music industry. I still love to play guitar, Zach. I love to sing. Especially writing these days has become the best part of it all. Like I write every day. I just finished a song before we came here, and it's just the writing to me now is that's the story of where I'm going in hopefully the next decade to 20 years.
That's wonderful, Damian. Now, of course, you've been around the game for quite a while, better part of 40 years.
Yep.
So I want to go back to your early days in music, Damian. What got you started in the first place?
As I just mentioned a moment ago, my brothers had a collection of vinyl records in the 70s. I'm a 60s kid, and I grew up in the 70s. And I just started listening to all those old records, the Springsteen, Asbury Park, Kiss, Alive, Peter Frampton, Comes Alive, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. There were so many great records back then, and even some of the local stuff. I remember my dad had a Harry Hibbs record and an Elvis Christmas record, and they were both in the same section of the record collection. And I asked my dad, "Where's this guy from?" And he was like, "He's from Belle Isle." And I didn't know at the time that Harry Hibbs was. So I think Harry was part of the whole influence too of, wow, he could do that. Maybe I could do that. And from a very young age, I truly believed that I was going to be a musician and an entertainer and a songwriter and do this for a living. So got lucky.
Yeah, for sure. Now, of course, you just mentioned those names there. You mentioned Peter Frampton and Kiss, Springsteen, Petty, Seeger.
Absolutely.
I mean, all big names in the 1970s and really had extended careers going into the new millennium here. So any more influences that come to mind when it comes to, your music taste?
Well, I mean, I kept playing through the 70s and through the 80s and the 90s. I mean, there were so many great bands. I mean, the Bon Jovi stuff in the 80s, the hair bands. But it was always, to me, Zach, it was always about songwriting, because the best part of all of those artists, like you'd hear Bob Seger with the Night Moves, and even though like we were teenagers at the time I heard that first, but today when I play that song, it takes you back, and a great song, a great story, it just hits you right right in the feel goods, and whether it makes you cry, laugh, or yell, or scream, or call your friends, or call your parents. It's just that to me, the storytelling was the part that appealed to me more than anything.
For sure. Now, one of your first opportunities in the music sector was, of course, with the band Rogues Gallery. You were in that band from 88 to 93. You were the lead singer of the group. And I believe a lot of the members came from Ontario, or were you guys all based in Newfoundland?
There was actually, there was three guys from Placentia, and there was one guy from Nova Scotia, but lived in Newfoundland for most of his life. And there was a couple of guys from St. John's. And it was kind of like, it was funny, that band, I didn't write a lot in that band. The guys did most of the writing, and I was the face of the band in that group. So, I mean, great songwriters, Des Gambin, the late Sean King, Terry Fogwell, Darren Brown, Des Gambin, Peter Clark, all just great musicians. It was a great run.
Yeah, and Des Gambin and Terry Fogwell, you wrote a couple songs with them throughout the times that you released a lot of your solo albums. I mean, Better Days came out in 1999, and some of the standout tracks from that record were No Second Chances and One of These Days. So off the hop there, what was it like back in those days, get that radio play and, that play on NTV right off the bat?
It was a different time. I mean, back when we first started out, I mean, you went and you knocked on the doors and you called a radio station. I mean, back then you had to play your shows, learn your instrument. Today it's just such a fast-paced environment, and I mean the streaming and YouTube and this, like young kids, the stars come out of nowhere now. It's like they get a video out or a song and it goes viral and they get 1 million views, and they're out there so fast. Back then you literally had to play, every town, every bar, every venue, every high school. You had to work so hard back then, but I think it made us better musicians, I think, and it kept a lot of us going, and the fact that we're still able to do it these days from that era.
Do you still see some of that these days whenever you're playing live?
You mean the actual?
So like having to put all that work in that you did back in the 90s.
Yeah, because no matter, I mean, even if a young 19-year-old girl or guy, a kid comes out and gets a song, I mean, that's one song that goes viral. Okay, you got 2 million views, or you got 20 million views, or TikTok or whatever. But you still have to back it up. You have to keep writing. You have to co-write. You have to be able to sing live. You have to be able to play live. You have to have great musicians around you, a great team. It's still a lot of work, and it's, as we all know, the chances of getting that big break it's pretty tough.
Yeah, for sure. Now, of course, one of the opportunities that you've gotten throughout your career, you were the in-house musician at Greensleeves for a good part of 20 years.
Yep.
So, Lex Griffiths and the entire team over there, you all do great work there.
Absolutely.
So, how did you get that opportunity at Greensleeves to begin with?
I became friends with the legendary Dick Hancock, who was the original owner of Greensleeves.
Oh, wow.
Back in the 80s, and I worked for him as a busboy. I think I was probably the second or third busboy they had at Greensleeves, and I met Dick, and I used to get up and jam with two local legends back in the day, Paul Ryan and Paul Monahan. They used to have a house band on Tuesday nights, and they used to allow me to get up and jam. And Dick saw me playing a few times, and we became friends, and we started talking. And back in probably 2000, it was a year before 9/11. He saw me playing somewhere, and he basically offered me a job, and he said, "I'll come work for me, and you don't have to work for anybody else." And I worked for Greensleeves for almost 20 years straight. So, and it was great. I mean, it helped the Greensleeves brand, it helped the Damian Follett brand. Everybody got benefits from it. And I have, they're all my friends. They're all lovely people, and I met so many great people from all over the world, Zach. I mean, we had tourists coming in from everywhere, from Scotland to Ireland to Europe to Texas and Kentucky, you name it, military people coming through town. And it was just, it's a great vibe in the place, and it still is. It's a great venue. Any young people coming up, I mean, I hope they get a chance to play there.
Yeah, now you're no longer the full-time musician there. I mean, you step back from that,
Right.
but you still play like gigs across town.
Yeah.
Of course, what do you enjoy most about playing live?
Honestly, if I could just play my guitar all day long, I'd be the happiest musician around. I love to sing too, and that's fun too, and sing harmony with people. But just playing the guitar, it's like, I heard Keith Urban talking about how his guitar is like an extension of his limbs, and that's how I feel with the acoustic guitar. It's like, I've always felt like that's supposed to be a part of what I do. So that's the best part of playing. And I mean, I'm playing a song for people. I mean, I've been really lucky over the years, Zach. I've been fortunate enough to play, because of Greensleeves and all the promotions that I got there. I could do a lot of my own material, and people know the words and they sing them back to me, and that's just pretty incredible.
For sure. Now, one of those songs that people sing back to you, of course, was the song that I really know you most for. I believe you wrote this with Des Gambin as well. It's a song called "No Place Like Home."
Yes.
There's rain, that fog, a cool breeze that keeps constantly going. There's peace and beauty everywhere.
Yep.
So one of your signature tunes, you actually rewrote this last year,
Yes.
and you released it, and you worked on this with Clint Curtis. So I want to talk about the initial song
Right.
First off. So tell me a little bit more about what it was like writing "No Place Like Home."
We wrote the song. I mean, see, the thing when we wrote the song we wrote it about the rock, like the island portion of the province, because myself and Des, we have no experience with Labrador. We've never been there. We have no family there, really. It was like we had no connection to Labrador. So I said, well, this is our home. So we wrote about the island. But over the years, many people, not just people from Labrador, but several people had mentioned, hey, why don't you throw in a verse about the big land, about Labrador, and have Newfoundland, Labrador, and have it as sort of an anthem for the province. And so we changed up some of the lyrics, and The new version is really, obviously, it's people are much more pleased with it. It includes everybody. And I've even had people, drop hints that, hey, maybe this should be an anthem for all of us, for the entire province. It's a big song. And I had a lot of my friends doing the recording too, a lot of my favorite singers in town, and they created this huge choir effect with Clint Curtis and Jason Whalen doing the production. So pretty big song.
So do you find the version that you released last year to be the complete version of No Place Like Home?
Absolutely. It's because, when me and you were from St. John's, Newfoundland, Labrador.
Born and bred, baby.
Yes, but again, the Rock is my home. The Flummies are from Labrador. That's their home. We are both Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. That's just, somebody might say we are now Newfoundlanders on the island. They're Labradorians, but you're still in the province.
Yeah.
The new version definitely, it brings everybody together. And that's why I think people are loving it. And, the dream with that song would be to get all of my musician friends from Newfoundland and Labrador to come together and do a big We Are the World kind of thing with that song. Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you've been writing songs for many, many years now. Once you really got out of Rogues Gallery, you really started writing songs more seriously, and you've been writing them ever since. What do you enjoy most about writing songs?
Just telling a story. Today we're talking, and even though we're doing it's an interview, it's a conversation, and I'll probably walk out of here and remember something you said and go, that's a great idea for a song. Everybody I talk to, the best songwriters are always aware of what's happening around them. Like, pay attention to what's going on with your friends, your family, the world, and just you tell that story, and especially true stories. When you find stuff that's real life, that's the bomb right there for songwriting. You can make up stuff too and embellish the stories, but tell the truth and tell your own story. People will get it.
Now, one story I believe you have told, when the Toronto Maple Leafs came to town back in 2019, you got to play for the Leafs brass, Brendan Shanahan, Mike Babcock, who were who were part of the management team at the time. Shanahan's still there now, Brad Treliving and Craig Berube's now the head coach. And you're a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. I was 5 years old when they won the cup. It's one of my few childhood memories.
And it was the last cup that they won in black and white.
Yes, the pain continues.
Hey, Vi. Well, what was it like playing music for the Leafs brass, and especially for the players at the time?
It was fantastic. And again, I got it through a couple of buddies had worked for the Leafs, and they reached out to some friends inside the organization, and they sent them down to George Street, and they said, go see this guy play at Greensleeves, Damian Follett. And the two guys from the Leafs organization came in, and they heard like 5 songs, and they came up and said, we want you to play for Babcock and the coaches and the brass when we come to town. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm a Leafs fan. I'd love to. So I played for them. I met them all, just cool people. Shanahan and Haley Wickenheiser. They were all phenomenal people. And I got to go to see the Leafs practicing. Brought the kids up. My boys got to see them practice, and it was incredible to watch NHL players obviously skate. And it was funny. This was 2019, and the plan was they were going to bring me up to sing a couple of national anthems. Then COVID hit, and it all went under. It all got thrown away. So I didn't get to do that. Maybe someday it'll happen again, but
hopefully Leafs brass, if you're watching this, we could send something there. We can write up
that would have been cool.
A plan there.
But I did sing for the Leafs and Ottawa Senators the exhibition game, and the coolest part of that, I met Bob Cole.
Wow!
And he was the nicest man ever. Such a gentleman. I said, Mr. Cole. He said, can you please call me Bob? Okay, Bob, I'll try. But Bob was the legend. Rest in peace,
He's saying, oh, baby, up in heaven right now.
Oh, wow.
When it comes to Hockey Night in Canada, Bob Cole is the man.
Just say the 2 words, Bob Cole.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, of course, you've been releasing songs in the country genre for a good couple of years now. One of the first ones you put out was One Human Race.
Yep.
Then it was Down Here. And then it was, I believe, Best Ex-Girlfriend,
Yes,
No
sir.
Place Like Home.
Yep.
And now this current one, Floating Out in the Ocean. We'll talk about Floating Out in the Ocean in a moment. But why now go on a national radio campaign? Why do this now?
Because I think it's an avenue for getting your music out there. And I've often thought, my music is not really, it's not hard rock. It's a singer-songwriter genre, and it can fit into the new country genre. So, and these days, unfortunately, it's not like the 70s. You could just play a song, and it was a good song or a bad song. Today, you have to have a brand, a genre. You have to have the followers. You have to have the likes, all that stuff with social media. So the country, I mean, and working with Clint and now with Peter Daniel Newman, these guys know how to get those sounds, and I'm telling stories. I mean, they're good storytelling songs.
And of course, Clint Curtis's world famous first work with Justin Fancy and what Justin Fancy's been able to do outside the province.
Absolutely.
And Peter Daniel Newman, I should mention as well. He was a credit on Megan Maroney's, I believe, debut album, which ended up being the #1 album on Rolling Stone's top 100 albums of the year for 2023.
Amazing.
So Newfoundlanders are making noise in the music world.
I mean, as I've told people for years, we're world class. This is as good as anything out there. I mean, we can compete on a world stage. It doesn't, we shouldn't be intimidated by anybody anywhere. I think. I mean, you just mentioned, Justin Fancy, Carolina East. You could list off so many. I mean, and rock and pop, and I mean Fairgale. I mean, the boys are phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
There's so much stuff here, so much great stuff in the arts in general. So we can compete.
Yeah. So there was this one video that I saw a couple of times on Instagram about there was an artist that was on the phone with the label, and he said they liked their music, but he couldn't sign you because you don't have this amount of followers on Instagram and TikTok and stuff.
Yeah.
It has been easier to make music, but it has been that much harder too to get signed to a label, and that's why I think you see a lot of people going more so independent versus signing with those labels.
Yeah, because I think too. I mean, it's hate to say it because I'm 62 years old, but it's a young person's game too. I mean, I'm not going to get a record deal. That's not going to, unless I go on America's Got Talent and impress Simon Cowell. I'm not getting a record deal. That's not going to happen. I get that, but that's not my goal. My goal is the songs. Like the songs to me. Like just getting back to One Human Race and No Place Like Home, these songs can have a profound impact on, it sounds deep, but
yes, for sure.
Humanity. And I believe that. I still believe that's the purpose of the music to me.
For sure, because you don't know who's listening and you don't know who really will jump on board on this journey with you.
Absolutely.
So, of course, now the latest song you recently put up at a time that this interview has dropped. It's called Floating on the Ocean. Nice summertime song. I played it on Newfound Releases last week or two. And that's a song we're actually going to play after this conversation here on the Musical Connections podcast. Right. Tell me a little bit about this song, because you got to work on this with Peter Daniel Newman.
Yeah, and the song, actually, the original idea for the song came from, I was hanging out with my oldest boy, he's 19, and he has a virtual reality headset. And he told me to put it on. Of course, I was kind of scared and all this, but he had this virtual scene of a dock and boats, and I said to him, I said, Taylor, I feel like I'm floating on the ocean here. He said, that's a good song title, Dad. I said, great. Took it. 2 weeks later, went on a fishing trip. Myself and my girlfriend Brenda went on a fishing trip with some friends of ours, caught some fish, and the waves were literally, we were floating on the ocean.
Oh wow!
Went home, wrote the song, and Pete, God love him, he bless his heart, he's a busy guy, but he took me on board. He got all his buddies in Nashville, the top guns down there to play on it. He got Jeff Soiko down in Los Angeles, who's a Grammy-winning engineer, to mix it. It sounds phenomenal. So it's just right on radio now, so hopefully it gets some legs. For
sure. And definitely get some legs for me, I'll tell you that much.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that support.
Now, of course, I also forget to mention that someone with the profile of Greg Wells is investing his time here now in the province. You would have never seen that, like, say, back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, a person willingly taking their time out of their schedule to come down and put their time into Newfoundland and Labrador music. Where back in the day, in the 90s, I would imagine you have to, like, ask the big labels themselves to come down here. Yeah. Whereas someone like Greg Wells, he's taking time out of his schedule to come down here.
It's pretty amazing. And I mean, he's helping out a lot of young artists. They're getting some real legs out there, some great push on their music. And I applaud him. I mean, listen, and that's giving back. I mean, whether you're, a Grammy-winning producer like him, an engineer producer like him, or if you're, a struggling musician, we can all give back. And that's what the music industry has always been about. That. I mean, all the charity events, all the benefits, musicians show up, and we always show up for people as best we can. I mean, I applaud him for that. That's pretty amazing.
For sure. Now, of course, you have a show coming up May 31st at the Majestic Theatre. Beautiful place and a beautiful 350-seat venue. I was there for the Wave Makers competition when Quote the Raven were announced as one of the ambassadors to go to the Junos in Halifax. Aside from that, what's next for you, Damian?
I'm not playing bars much these days, Zach, because, again, as we age, I did all the late nights, and it's tough to do it as you get older.
You've been there, you've done that.
Yeah, I mean, I did it for, as you mentioned, it's almost 4 decades of playing bars, and I'm still playing some shows, some festivals, some corporate events, some private events. hoping to do some more of my own shows down the road. I mean, depending on how this one goes, it's looking good now. We're getting almost sold out. So, but I love the soft seater now because people are going to come in, they're going to listen. And at the venue too, as well as I'm doing my own solo set. I got my friends, I got a couple of lifelong friends of mine from Placentia, Des and Gary Gammon, phenomenal musicians. They're coming out to do a set of originals with me. And then my family, my siblings are doing a set with me as well. Carmelita, Brandon, Randy, three of my older siblings. And we have the family harmony. So it's a real treat for people. It's going to be a really nice show.
That's awesome. Now, of course, you've been in this scene for 40 years, and you show no signs of slowing down. So once all this is said and done, how do you want people to remember Damian Follett?
As a decent person, man. Listen, I say it all the time. I mean, the music is going to, people will hear songs, but, you want your friends, you want your family, you want your kids to say, Dad was a good guy. He helped people out. I don't want people to say, negative things. And I haven't been perfect. I'm not a perfect human being.
Nobody is.
I've made mistakes. I've hurt people along the way. I've screwed things up, but I always own my mistakes. I always apologize to people and try to do the right thing. And my parents raised me to be a decent person. My dad used to always tell me, if you can't think of something nice to say, just don't say anything. Just move on, right? So that's hopefully how people will remember Damian Follett.
For sure. And when it comes to the music, they'll remember you for writing such classic tunes that people will remember for years to come.
Brother. Thank you.
Now, of course, for people who want to find out more about Damian Follett, what show is going to be playing next, and the new music on the horizon, where can they go?
I'm on all the socials. I use Facebook mostly because I'm still learning more about Instagram and TikTok. My girlfriend Brenda has a great tag, Brightside Brenda, on TikTok. She's getting some good legs from me on that. She's posting up some stuff, so that's really good to help. And my website, DamianFollettMusic.com. Got to do some updates with that soon. But yeah, I mean, I'm always posting, when shows are coming up, and there are a few things in the works that I can't really talk about yet. A few people have made me a few offers of doing a few type of shows, but I don't know if they're going to work yet because it's just conversations.
Oh, yeah.
We'll stay tuned for that.
There's seeds that are still waiting to sprout.
Absolutely.
Well, Damian, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Musical Connections podcast. I've wanted to get you on for a long time. It's been long overdue, and congratulations on all your success. And despite being in this game for 40 years, again, you showed no signs of slowing down, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank
so,
you,
Damian,
Zach. Keep up the great work.
Damian, thanks again for joining me on the podcast. Have a wonderful day, and congratulations again on
Thank you,
everything that you're doing.